Welcome to School Zone, the show all about your local school districts here in the White Mountains. I'm your host, Amy Tregaskes from Show Low. I'm an educator, but mostly a parent. And today we have with us Matt Weber from NAVIT and Peggy Belknap from NPC. She's the Director of Career and Technical Education at NPC. And I thank you guys for being on our show today.
Glad to be here.
It.
Yeah, it's our pleasure.
So Matt, I would love for you to tell our community a little bit about the NAVIT program, maybe its history and what you do for the students here in our area.
You bet. NAVIT's been around in these three counties, Navajo, Apache, and Gila counties since 2000. And we really exist for two reasons. The first is to bring a revenue stream for their career and technical education programs that are offered at area high schools like Show Low and Blue Ridge. And secondly, for those students who can and have the time, is to come to the Northland Pioneer College campus for half a day and have access to additional career and technical education programs.
Okay, so what do you mean by a revenue stream for the local high schools?
So we provide funding for them based upon how many students that they have in their career and technical education classes.
What does that funding go towards?
So they, for example, at Show Low High School, if we were to take Chuck Marsh's construction program, he generates approximately $900 for every student that he has in his construction classes. And so from that money that's generated, then we're able to send that money back in one way or another. Some of it, 2/3 of it is directly to spend however they want, and then the other third we pay for dual enrollment textbooks, curriculum, professional development, things like that.
So to add that from the college side, Chuck Marsh is an adjunct faculty member of ours.
Okay.
And the students who are also getting high school credit in their class, in some of the courses are also getting college credit that Chuck has been certified to teach for Northland Pioneer College and for his high school. So that's what we describe as dual enrollment, which is a little different from the NAVIT central programs.
I love it. I love what you do. Go ahead and tell us a little bit more about the different programs that you offer.
From a central program arena through Northland Pioneer College, we have everything from welding to nursing assistant, medical assistant, auto technician, even cosmetology. And those are just to name a few. I mean, if fire science is another great program that is offered to the students in this area.
That's cool. My daughter has a friend that she graduated with that actually graduated from NPC as, I don't even remember what it was that she graduated in, but it was through NPC, through the College and Career Technical Program, taking NAVIT courses before she graduated from high school. It was pretty impressive. It's a great opportunity for our students.
And not only that, there are students that graduate before they graduate from high school.
Yeah.
That happens quite often. But they also, in most of these programs, are either earning national credentials or statewide credentials. And so all of the programs have third-party credentialing, and the students walk away with these not just college credit, but these industry-driven credentials that employers are looking for.
Like what do you mean by credentials?
So let's say automotive, along with having college credit and getting that credit also to count towards their high school graduation. That's what NAVIT takes care of. They also get ASE, which is Automotive Service Excellent credentials. And when they're looking for employment in that area, their employer are looking to see if they've been trained that way. And so it is quite something else for them to have. Welding is another good example. They have national credentials in welding and from the American Welding Society. So they walk away with level 1, level 2, level 3 in what we call NCCER, and then they also have American Welding Society. Our welders walk away with quite a pocket full of credentials besides their college credit, and if they start working towards their degree plan.
That's pretty neat. So how many students are actively participating in NAVIT right now?
Right now it's around 300. And I thought it'd be good to share an example of how it might look if, for those who are viewing this segment. I'm a father of 8, and I've had several children go through these programs. And so a typical NAVIT Central Program student is where they're spending half a day at their home high school.
Okay.
And then they're attending NPC for half a day. So they're typically getting on a district bus, getting off at the college campus, and then for 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, for typically 4 semesters, like welding and automotive that Peggy's just mentioned. It's very common for them to earn right in the neighborhood of 48 community college credits, along with those national certificates that she referred to. A good one, like welding, an example there would be NCCR, National Center for Construction Education and Research. And that's a huge part of what the Department of Education is requiring of our students now, particularly since Senate Bill 1525 was passed in this last legislative session, is they're not just after completion of a program, they're after students having opportunities to receive a nationally recognized certificate in business and industry.
That's pretty neat. So can you tell us a little bit more about that Senate bill?
You bet. The intent of the Senate bill was to prevent a cut to our funding. In fact, without that money, we would have had to cut our staff in half. And so we're grateful that the legislature approved the bill so that we continue operating with the current staff and not have to cut programs. Along with it, however, there are some additional requirements. And so, a good example is then at the central program level, nothing will change because they've always had access to national certificates.
Okay, back up just a second. You keep referring to the central program. Can you define
Yeah, let me be more
program?
clear. A NAVIT Central program is an NPC program that we pay the tuition, books, and fees for a high school student to spend half a day at the college through us. So we're paying the tuition, books, and fees for those students to attend.
What is not a central program?
That would be a program at the local high school. So like back to Chuck Marsh at Shola High School, that's considered a high school satellite program.
Oh, okay.
The satellite meaning that's just a technical term that they use in Arizona Revised Statute, but it refers to the high school program. So that's where the major changes are occurring.
Central is when they actually go to MPC to take the class.
Correct.
All right, I'm with you.
So,
and through an intergovernment agreement, that's how we're allowed to do that.
Okay.
And so they're absolutely, as soon as they walk on our campus,
They're your students.
They're college students, yeah. And that's exactly how they're receiving the exact curriculum a community member would have and all the credentials that would go with that.
So one thing to point out, though, is that they are a college student, and college transcripts go with you like forever.
Yes.
So you have to be prepared to do well and not just blow it off like a 14-year-old might blow off a high school class. You've got to be very serious because it's a commitment that's going to stay with you.
And over time, Amy, we've seen some phenomenal students come through our programs. Most of them that come through really are very committed, and they know what they're getting into because it's a lot to bite off. They've already got a full load at their high school typically.
Right.
Many of them are working. They may even be in sports participation, and so these students are coming to us. We consider them the cream of the crop.
Well, and they have chosen this field because it's something they're very interested in.
Absolutely.
Like, this is what they want to do. So that's
sometimes
why
it's what they want to do, and sometimes they're preparing themselves to maybe go on to the university, but this is what they're going to work in to help pay for tuition and the cost of once they hit that university level. And so I'll use cosmetology as an example. We have some cosmetology students that NAVIT provides that want to open a shop or work in a spa, and then others will work on the weekends while they attend a university, and that's how they're going to pay their expenses.
Yeah.
And so they might have different goals,
long-term goals, but their short-term goal is to do this so I can get to my next goal.
And they have to pass. And so in cosmetology, it's a 1,600-hour program. Quite a commitment for anyone, very rigorous, and then they have to pass the Arizona Cosmetology Board test to become licensed. And they can't work unless they become licensed.
Right. Wow. Okay, well, sorry to interrupt. Go back to Senate Bill.
Oh yes, Senate Bill 1525,
Yes.
then the major changes is occurring at the local high schools, meaning that if they haven't already been offering a national certificate, they now need to. It's an absolute.
Okay.
And so an example would be culinary arts. You know, Blue Ridge, you know, K-Shores has a culinary arts program there, fantastic program. Serve Safe would be an example of a certificate that she would be offering her students. Okay. And so we're here to help those students not only, you know, access the program, but make sure that they have the appropriate certification, or at least have it offered to them, because some will not necessarily be able to pass those certification tests, but it needs to be available at the home high schools.
Okay. So I thought Senate Bill 1525 did away with concurrent enrollment, but what you're saying is that it didn't do that.
Correct. Yeah, in fact, a good definition of concurrent enrollment is the NAVIT Central program. It's where the student's actually taking a college class at the college, versus dual enrollment is where, say they're in Chuck Marsh's program at Show Low High School and they're taking a college course for which Chuck is approved to teach by NPC.
Right.
Okay.
And we do that in other areas, like at Show Low High School, business courses that students take there, and they get their high school credit, and we call it dual. They also, if their instructor meets our college level certification and they're teaching exactly our course, then they'll get college credit also.
My daughter took advantage of that for math.
Right.
So I think she did pre-calc and trig and calculus through dual enrollment through MPC, and it was great for her.
It does. And is she already at the university yet?
Not yet.
Okay. But when she
she's getting
does,
there.
you don't have to pay those prices if she goes on to, because it's quite expensive, as I think your listeners will know. Tuition costs are outlandish. But that's another thing why some of the students are able to get their community college degree with us, is they're at night taking their English and math, and it's $70 a credit hour, which becomes very affordable for families.
That's right. I know that there's also other programs that students can get help with tuition as well. The high school students can get help through MPC, or there has been. So that's great. So how much money do you think you're saving kids by doing this?
Well, I think cosmetology would be a good example. By us paying their tuition, books, and fees versus, say, them going to the metropolitan areas of Phoenix and Tucson, a cosmetology program would cost anywhere, the cheapest I've seen advertised is $14,000 and on up.
Wow.
So
maybe closer to $20,000.
Yeah.
And how much does it cost a student at Show Low High School?
Well, let me say this, that on the average, if a student stays in our program, in NPC's program, and we're paying for them over a 4-semester period, you know, we're typically paying somewhere between $10,000 to $14,000, depending upon the program.
But the student, how much is the student paying?
Well, an example would be nursing assistant. If they sign up for the nursing assistant program, they'd be buying, you know, a couple of sets of scrubs, making sure they have some comfortable shoes. So typically, it's probably around $40 to $50 out of pocket in some cases. Okay. But that's all. We don't charge them additional fees. In fact, some of the joint and technical education districts like NAVIT in other areas, they'll charge fees to the students, and we don't. We just have them typically come up with personal protective gear, but on a much smaller scale.
That's great. So what communities do you serve?
From the NAVIT end, we cover White River, Payson, Holbrook, Joe City, Winslow, and then all the high schools in between. So we're covering 15,000 square miles across 3 counties.
Wow.
So we have 11 member high school districts that we serve.
That's impressive. I know that the state has, their standards are the Arizona College and Career Readiness, and I feel like NAVIT really helps fill in that career readiness piece for our state standards for our kids. Peggy, are there other things about career and technical education that you'd like to share as from the MPC side?
Well, We have about, in my division, we have about 13 different types of programs, and under that there could be 3 or 4 different pathways that they could take. What's really important in career and technical education is to stay current. Because if you're not current, if your equipment's not current, and so they're very expensive programs, but at a really reasonable cost. And so the NAVIT and Northland Pioneer College, I believe we share, we split the cost half.
Okay.
So the students are not paying, except maybe, as Matt said, there could be an exception in a couple of programs. They're not paying any of that cost. And so they leave high school with these credentials and college credits, and many times ready to hit the workforce. We've had welders that have gotten like a $50,000 job. They're 18 years old, and they're picked up by a local or a global company, and they can make quite a good living, and that's just their base salary. Needless to say, any overtime they do, they're reporting back. Maybe sometimes that doubles in a year, depending on what that company has them to do. So that's quite a salary for a young person to begin.
Yeah.
Very impressive. The problem is we also teach them life skills. Is, okay, you're making all this money, now let's be careful. And so our faculty are very well versed on making sure that if these students do at a very young age begin to make what I consider a very significant salary, that they know how to manage it and how to use it correctly.
How to pay bills, how to finance your home. So are those classes required too?
Well, it's built in our curriculum.
Oh, good.
And so our faculty help our students because they know that there are going to be times, because some of this is contract work, that they may not have a job, and you need to save up for those months that you're waiting for the new job to begin.
Right.
So our students need to understand what type of field they're going into.
Okay, that's really good. Good to know. So you said you offer 13
different types of programs, or we're connected to different grants within the career and technical education. And so not all of these are offered by NAVIT in all of our different programs.
And the major issue there is just proximity.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. But you offer them through MPC, so not necessarily having to be a high school student.
No, absolutely not.
To take it.
We run evening programs, but sometimes, and it depends on the number. So say we have 20 welding booths. We'll pick on welding again.
Okay.
And so we can take 20 students. But say in a certain area, say up at our Sholo shop for welding, Matt may send, say, 15 students. And so we have 5 open spots for a community member. And I really like those kind of learning environments, because you have community members and students who are learning together, and a lot of times they talk about how much they paid for their tuition, how much their course fees cost, and the students learn really well that they're getting quite an opportunity if they come from NAVIT.
Maybe helps them appreciate where they're at such a young age to be able to, that opportunity to do that.
Yeah. It does.
What about, Matt, can other kids, like what about our charter schools or homeschool students? Can they participate in NAVIT as well?
Excellent question. The key there is, as long as they live within the boundaries of one of the traditional unified school districts, they absolutely can participate. We do have both homeschool and charter school students that are attending our programs as we speak. Good examples of that are Sequoia and Northern Arizona Academy. We've had Jefferson Academy students. But yes, we allow them to come in. I do want to say that if they're homeschooling, and because sometimes homeschool students don't have necessarily a rank in terms of a grade level as a student, and so if they are not part of, say, an online high school program where it gives them a rank, we just say that they need to be 16 years old.
Okay.
So that would be kind of the only thing that I want to make sure that they understand, because it's not uncommon for us to get calls with 14 and 15-year-old children saying, hey, we'd love for them to be in the program. like I say, as long as they're 16 and live within a traditional boundary. So an example of that would be, say if I had a call right today from a parent who lives in Vernon, we'd have an issue there because a Vernon student lives within a K-8 district boundary. They're not part of the Show Low Unified School District boundary, and so they wouldn't be able to come. And that's just because of the tax base. Every school district boundary, it's gone to the vote of the people, and so Vernon would be an example of where they haven't voted to participate with us.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
So as long as they live within a Show Low boundary, Blue Ridge boundary, Snowflake.
High school boundary.
Yes.
A boundary that has a high school.
Right. But if they can't go through NAVIT, they could go to Northland Pioneer College.
True.
Okay.
And so they don't necessarily have to go through NAVIT to go to Northland Pioneer College.
To still be able to participate.
Correct.
Okay.
And so, they have to meet any prerequisite, or any test scores that we need, so they'll be successful in our programs.
But don't even the kids going to NAVIT still have to meet MPC test
Absolutely.
scores, don't
Absolutely.
they? Yeah, just as a minimum requirement to get in. So there's still qualifications. I really appreciate you guys being on the show today. Is there anything else you'd like to mention that maybe I forgot to ask you about?
I think one of the main things I'd like to emphasize is, if you remember at the beginning of the show, I mentioned that we provide that funding stream, just to give viewers an idea of what that amounts to. For a school like Show Low or Blue Ridge, that averages around $200,000 a year.
Wow.
That's actually being funneled back into their programs. And so it's a phenomenal system for them to receive additional funding. And then for those students that have the time is to be able to come to a central program. We have some phenomenal programs at our high school sites. Every now and then we have students that have a little extra time and can afford to spend a full half a day at the college campus, and so that's where we can capture those students and their needs. So we just provide additional programs that they can have access to through NAVIT. So like I say, we've been serving them since 2000 here in Show Low and Blue Ridge. In fact, they were 2 of the original 5 districts, and then over time through 2003 we added 6 more for a total of 11. So we're excited to be in the area and know that we'd love to ask questions. If there are parents out there watching this that want to have additional information, they can certainly call us.
Thank you. I think we're going to have your link as part of the channel. So what about you, Peggy? Anything else before we wrap up?
This is quite a unique opportunity for high school students for NAVIT, and we have valued our partnership all these years. So our community college has been in the area since 1974. So we've been serving all these communities all this time. But this is a quite a special partnership that we value at our institution, and I believe families are beginning to see the value of it. And their family members are such a success out there. Their students are becoming employed and having the credentials that they need. And even if they don't go to NAVIT, I think they have an opportunity with our college with having really, like I said, our programs are very well equipped, very current in standards, connected to national or statewide credentials, at $70 a credit hour. Quite a good investment for anyone. I don't think you're going to find any community college at a better value than Northland Pioneer College. And I think that's why one reason our partnership works so well too. Absolutely. We couldn't do it without the college. We're able to by sharing those costs, we can keep it within our budgets, and I'm confident we're very taxpayer loyal. Many JTEDs out there, they go ahead and build their own buildings, hire their own teachers, and we felt particularly in a rural area where we're so far flung that it made much more sense to partner with the community college. And it's been a phenomenal partnership ever since 2000. We have to share resources. It's how we get things done. And so I think that makes our partnership very unique too, that we're not double facilities out there. There might be some programs at the high school, but not at the same level that the college offers these programs. Right, right.
Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time, and I hope that our viewers feel like this was good for you also. And please reach out to Matt or Peggy if you have questions. Thanks for joining us here on the School Zone, and we'll see you again soon.